This is Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Subscribe for new content notifications. Now, here's Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow me on Twitter at @BackupBradleyAbove at the top of the screen, and everything that we're talking about here today. Let's go ahead and get into this thing because Bitcoin hit $14,000 last night as Americans awaited the election results, which still aren't in. And shout out to everybody, no matter which side you're on. I don't have a side. The dog in the hunt that I got is crypto. That's all you need to know. That's my horse in the race, I should say. So there you go. And we're going to talk about this idea. Okay, this idea of what happens to crypto. When does crypto really take off? Are we in a bull market? Because I believe we're in a bull market. Not a bull run, but certainly a bull market. And I think Bitcoin is proving that as the poster child for crypto. And that's exciting to me because I don't think it stops there. And I want to discuss with you an idea I have about how crypto really becomes a bull run and a huge bull market. And I think you'd be surprised at my thoughts here, but nevertheless, let's go ahead and get into this. So Bitcoin hits 14,000. It's pulled back to about 13.8 again. That's where we're at this morning. But let's go ahead and get into this. October was a massive month for Bitcoin options. And shout out to everybody, XRP Crypto Wolf, DJ Peter Bass, Bond Crypt, Michael Val, 5 Links, and the rest of you who are absolutely amazing. October was a massive month for Bitcoin options. The open interest of Bitcoin options hit a daily all-time high of $2.6 billion. The monthly volume of Bitcoin options reached a new all-time high, increased 46.4% on a month-to-month basis from 3.9 billion to 5.8 billion. That is massive numbers. However, collectively speaking, looking at Bitcoin or the whole crypto space at about, 300 to 400 plus billion dollar market, it's relatively small compared to everything else in the traditional markets, right? Whether it's metals or derivatives, it pales in comparison. But nevertheless, we are seeing massive money flood into this, even in the option side. So let's keep going here. Nearly 1 billion in Bitcoin from the fourth largest wallet just moved. 69,369 Bitcoins worth approximately $955 million just moved, and this is the first outflow activity of Bitcoin wallet since April 2015. I have to say, that part's a little unnerving, right? I mean, what is the intentions to do with that? And if I'm not mistaken, and maybe one of you in the audience may know this and remember it better than I do, but wasn't there supposed to be a release of a whole bunch of Bitcoin from the Mt. Gox thing? Help me out on that if you guys remember. So I'll keep an eye on the comments for that. But nevertheless, that's a lot of Bitcoin, and you have to wonder, what are the intentions with it? Are they going to begin to, sell off the market some? Anyway, going here is a nice exchange for Mike Novogratz, who was pulling for Biden last night, and I don't know which way it goes. Like I said, my horse in the race is crypto, so I don't have a side other than my investments. Now, looking at this, cryptocurrency was a bid the whole night. We're in a bull market, he says. The Fed is going to continue to print, and he's absolutely right about that. And, oddly enough, there's not many times that I've found over the years that I've been covering crypto that I'm going to say this, and it feels weird to say it. But I'm going to agree with Mike Novogratz and what he says in this clip here. So let's listen to this exchange here, and we're going to pick it up from there.
You've been a big bull on cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and the like. I'm curious how you think the Fed, the role of the Fed going forward is going to be, given that there's probably going to be less efforts or ability to create massive stimulus. Therefore, does it fall onto the Fed? If it falls onto the Fed, is that ultimately good for your Bitcoin investment? How do you think through all of that?
What was so interesting watching all the markets last night, right? The bond markets sold off and then rallied. Stocks, cryptocurrency was bid the whole night. Bitcoin went 14,000, 13,700, 13,800. We're in a bull market in Bitcoin. The Fed is going to be continuing to print, right? The crypto world has an expression, the Fed goes brr, that printing press going on and on. And so, less fiscal, more Fed, good for crypto. I think there's a bigger story with crypto, right? We have crossed the Rubicon in its adoption. You're going to see every bank, every tech company getting involved. And so I think we're at the start of a really big bull market there.
It's well said from Mike Novogratz. And like I said, I find it really funny that I actually agree with him on something, because a lot of times I don't agree with the things that he says. But nevertheless, shout out to Mike Novogratz and his holdings for Bitcoin. And we do know that he holds XRP also, even though he talks a lot of trash on XRP. However, it does say last night that Bitcoin did hit the $14,000 mark, and it was just a moment, I believe, too, because I didn't actually see it, but I did see the article that we covered here earlier. But what I wanted to talk about is the U.S. and a false economy, okay? And we're in a false economy because what he's pointing to, what he's saying here is about the Fed and how much money they've printed, and about how it's dangerous, and at some point there's going to be a pay-to-piper moment. Stay with me on this. If we look at the market currently right now, and the market's not open yet, right? Or is it open right now? Let's see. Let's see if we've opened. Doesn't look like we are open yet, but getting ready to. So, right now we're at 27,480, 0%. It's not really showing anything right now. We're going to have to see what happens, whether this goes up or down. But last night, before this went up, the market was showing 554 points up is where we were. And it looks like it's changing right now, and we're going to keep an eye on where it goes. However, with that being said, we'll see what happens when the market's open. We know that the markets have been inflated from all of this printing. We know that the Fed holds north of 30% of all the mortgages in the country. We also know that that ain't how it's supposed to work. I think this leads to a crypto explosion. But it's weird because I believe at some point, look, we talk about this with Cryptopolis on the show, and I want to make sure that I say this the right way. Cryptopolis has been very clear that he sees a little more downside to crypto happening because of the strength of the dollar. I feel like where we are, if we see the continued run on the market and the continued printing, right now what we're seeing is the dollar strength happening regardless of the printing, right? A deflationary situation. But what I feel like is that at some point there has to be a pay the piper moment to this, right? So we know that we've talked about the dollar index, the Dixie, right? And when it runs hot and it runs strong for the dollar, crypto goes weak and falls off, right? So for me, I feel like there's going to come an inflection point here, I believe, where we could actually see the markets have that crash or sell off or pull back, and they are clearly overbought. We've covered this on the show. But we could see that moment where it sells off and the U.S. economy begins to tank, or at least the markets crash, right? And flee. Maybe that's after the first of the year, right? But one thing I want to keep in mind is that whenever that moment is, I feel like there's a great chance that becomes crypto's moment. And I mean beyond the retail speculator like you and me. And if you're listening to this, you are a speculator, perhaps even a vanguard, right? It's interesting to me because we can't forget that this is a global market for this new asset class. Specifically XRP, a decentralized asset that's going to be used back end for payments. Now, yes, that includes remittances, but it also includes the entire derivatives market, right? I believe. So this to me is bigger than who the U.S. president is going to be. Does that mean that there would be a lag time or shortening if this one or that one went? Sure, I'm sure it could be. But the point for me is this, and I'm going to show you an example of why I'm not concerned about whoever wins domestically here in the States when it comes to an election. Because this is bigger than any one president. The world needs this. They need it because they need a new form of money. And they need it because that new form of money can also bring the velocity of money. It's very, very important that they have this for those reasons. And they will have it. And I'm going to show you that now. Because let's just take a look at this. This was in the news this morning. Central Bank UAE issues new regulation to support development of digital payment service. And you say to yourself when you see that, great, another central bank is on their way to doing their thing. What are we talking about, Brad? We're talking about new regulation constitutes an important milestone in the continued development of robust regulatory framework for stored value facilities and the digital payments industry as a whole. It is in line with the CBUAE's objective aim at safeguarding the stability, integrity of the financial system and payment infrastructure in the UAE. And facilitating further development of digital payments, this regulation will ensure a level playing field for market participants and will help maintain the UAE status as international finance center and a leading payments hub. Brad, I didn't see Ripple or XRP in there. Enlighten me, please. Sure. Let's take a look at this. Saudi Arabia Monetary Authority, SAMA, the country's central bank, has today announced that it's recently injected part of the liquidity in local banks via blockchain technology. Let me keep reading. I'm not done. SAMA didn't provide the amount of liquidity injection via blockchain, but last week, central bank decided to inject a total of 50 billion Saudi riyals, worth $13.35 billion, to enable banks to support the private sector. SAMA said the blockchain deployment is part of its continued efforts to explore and experiment with emerging technologies. Specific details of the initiative remain unknown. The bloc has reached out to the central bank for comments and will update the story should we hear back. Now, this, I believe, was all the way back in, it doesn't say, but it could be 2020. So, this is not the first time SAMA has experimented with blockchain technology. Last year, listen to this, last year it launched a digital currency project called ABER in association with UAE Central Bank. UAE Central Bank moving ahead with that new digital financial system, right? And new regulation for a level playing field. But listen, to help banks in both countries conduct remittances via blockchain. In 2018, SAMA partnered with Ripple to help local banks improve their payment infrastructure and via RippleNet. So this news that looks so bland about new digital payment services and framework and regulation and a level playing field for market participants that doesn't say a damn thing about Ripple actually involves them. And this is the UAE Central Bank. I'm not worried about a U.S. election because the world's going to use it. The whole world is going to use it. Now, is there a hang-up? Is there some delays? Sure, I'm sure that there is. But I would see a scenario that, hey, if the current administration remains in, you're going to see probably this pumped up printed economy go through the holidays. And I don't know, maybe sometime after New Year's, you see the economy turn downside because at some point, this thing's got to come home to roost. And when it does, I think the traditional markets and the pundits and the analysts will watch. And I think the narrative you'll hear say is when you're seeing the markets crash and people fleeing to run to this new asset class called digital assets, cryptocurrencies, I think you'll hear them blame the crash on that instead of a failing economy. I don't know if I'm right, but I tell you what, I know that they say never let a good crisis go to waste. And what better way to blame an actual stock market crash on the introduction of a new digital asset class called cryptocurrency? And then you could actually say, well, it's not crashing at all. It's just the money's going from one pocket to another pocket. But the money's still there. I don't know, but something feels right about it on this day. That's where I'm at, U.S. and the false economy. At some point, this has to have a moment, and I don't know when that moment is, but at some point, it definitely has to happen. That's my thoughts on this day. Hit the like and subscribe. Leave a comment below. The world needs new money. That new money is cryptocurrency. Hit the like and subscribe, share with somebody you know, leave a comment below, and make sure you check out all the links in the description box. And by the way, I want to let you know, I've got Unstoppable Domains link in there too. I typed another one in this morning, celebrityblog.crypto, $40. What do you think that's going to be worth? I don't know what celebrity.com is worth, but I know insurance.com is worth $30+ million when it sold. And I know sex.crypto sold for $90,000. So I don't know what to make of that other than I've been buying the daylights out of them, and you better get this one before I do. All right, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care.